Hey, in this episode of the Rodney O Podcast, we're going to continue our journey in our Survival Guide series, Survival Guide to 2020, as we read through the Gospel of John. So please join me in this episode as we continue to share. Today is about changing that mindset up to have a new mindset and to be free. Create a brand new mindset, guys. Welcome to the Rodney O Podcast. All right, so today isn't necessarily a personal story that I'm going to share, because as you know, I usually start these off with personal stories, but it's a story that I resonate with, and I could use personal examples, but I wanted to go with this other example instead of a personal example of mine. And, you know, in your life, if you ever felt guilty about something, or if you ever felt shame about anything, and you just couldn't shake it, you just couldn't get rid of this shame or anything, you should be able to identify with this story I'm about to tell. And I've been there myself, having done something horribly wrong in my life, to myself, to others, the situations that I've been in, that I felt a lot of guilt and a lot of shame. And the thing about it is I let that eat away at me for several months, for a long time. I mean, I think it was even over the course of a year, longer than a year, that it just kind of ate me up inside and just tore me apart, this guilt and shame. So as I share this, I do want to provoke some emotion and controversy, because I want to make a point, and I want people to identify with this, whatever side of the fence you stand on. But some of you guys remember the football player Michael Vick. Now, Michael Vick was a quarterback, electrifying, really good guy. American football, played quarterback and was really good. But he had this secret, right? He was part of this dogfighting ring. I think he was even in charge of it and kind of bankrolled the thing. And it's illegal for one and inhumane on the other. And so he had this horrible, horrible thing that he kept a secret, and this horrible activity. And as it became to come to light, he kind of denied even knowing about it. He kind of denied being a part of it. And he got caught. And they found out about it, and they caught him. And so the thing about it is after that, there was a downfall. He lost his NFL job. He had to go to court, and he went to prison for it because, like I said, it is illegal as well as inhumane. And he spent some time behind bars. And so he did his time. He did what he's supposed to do. He got the punishment. And then he came out, right? And he tried to make it right. I can imagine of where of what happened. I mean, he was trying to protect himself. He was probably, nervous, like, if I get found out, I'm gonna lose my job. So he lied to the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, the team he played for at the time. And, he had to go to court. It's a national story. It's embarrassing. Lost millions. And just a horrible, horrible thing happened to him, right? But after he got out, he started to speak out about what he did and speak out about it, against it, and saying it was wrong. He created charities and awareness about it. And, there's some part of it, yes, he had to make amends. Yes, it was public. Yes, he had to do community service. So he had to do things in the community about it. But the question became, is he sincere? And should he deserve another chance? And as people kind of shied away from him, he finally got another chance. And I believe, my memory serves me correct, was Andy Reid and the Philadelphia Eagles that he went to. And he was able to start his career again. And if you remember, people were protesting. They did not want him being quarterback. They felt that he should not get a second chance. Because after all, those dogs didn't, correct? So why is he having a chance to earn millions again, when people just wanted him to dwell in his guilt and shame? I mean, people felt that he should be banned and shouldn't play again forever. Like, this should be a lifetime thing where he's banned. But the thing I want to say here, and the thing I'm going to provoke is, because there's a lot of dog lovers out there, and they can't imagine somebody having the brutality to do what he did. And I agree. But he paid his time, he paid his dues, and he wants to have a second chance. And people don't want him to. People didn't want him to. But the thing about it is, we shouldn't want that for anyone. We shouldn't want anybody to stay in their past and stay in their guilt and stay in their shame, especially after they made amends. Now, if they didn't make amends, if they didn't be remorseful, that's a different story because there's some learning there and some work that has to be done. But we shouldn't want that for anybody to be stuck back in the past. You know why? Because it doesn't happen for us in our lives, in the big picture with the Creator. And that's what I'm talking about today on the Rodney O Podcast. All right, so today on the Rodney O Podcast, we're going to continue the series that I titled Survival Guide to 2020, John's Instruction Manual. And I titled today's topic as Create a Brand New Mindset. Create a brand new mindset. And now I'll be teaching each week as we go through the Gospel of John, not to be confused with the books of the Bible, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John. But today we're going to go and we're going to read through John chapter 3, verses 1 through 25. And so my hope is that those who are unfamiliar with the Bible will get a good introduction to it. And I believe John is a good book to start. But those who are more proficient can get a kind of a refresher. And hopefully they like what they hear and they can pass it on to somebody who may need to hear this. And the whole reason why I created this whole series that I want to do for 2020 is because we have a crisis, right? We have a lot of things going on right now in 2020. We have COVID. We have racial tension going on, political fighting. We have fires, especially in California where I live. I know Oregon right now is going through some things. People on hurricane watch. There's a lot of things happening in 2020 that it seems like we need a survival guide. We need a remembrance of how to live and navigate this thing that we call life, as I always say. And so with all of this that's going on, I want to give kind of the bright side, the good news. And that's what I'm doing here. And as we dive in today, I kind of look at this whole thing like, the whole world, it kind of seems like that things are dark, right? I spent a lot of time in the first parts of this series about talking about the darkness. And it seems like this world is all dark, just all over the place. We think about a world where there is so much bad, right? That we think, is God angry? Is God constantly doing things to warn us about our behavior? Does he want to change us? Are these warning signs? You see that sometimes, right? Right? That God is angry, better change. And it even seems like in this time and day that bad behavior is tolerated or accepted. That we find reasons to treat one another poorly and excuse it. Or we don't care about someone. Or we care about ourselves being right and trying to make the right point, that we ignore the care we need to provide for our fellow human being. If someone wants to do something right and be good, we're skeptical. If someone offers help and wants nothing in return, we think there's a catch. That there's something going on. Like, well, tell me what it is. What's the catch about this? The world as a whole seems to like the darkness. And I want to say it's because it is in this darkness that we can hide our bad deeds. We can hide the things that we do wrong, rather than to be exposed by light and truth. In a dark room, light will expose anything that's hidden in darkness. And so sometimes I think we like the darkness because we can hide our bad deeds. We can kind of blend in to the darkness of this world. And we don't want that light to shine on our character. We don't want the light to shine and be brutally honest with us. And so as we search and as we move toward this light and as we try to move toward these things that are good, we kind of stop ourselves because of our skepticism. It won't allow us to go there. We don't believe that the light can shine that bright, right? That this whole thing there's a lot of negative in here and somebody being positive or something being that positive, that just cannot be. You see, we're conditioned for fear. We're conditioned for hate. We're conditioned for despair. We're conditioned for discouragement. That when we hear that positive or when somebody speaks positive and people talk about the light, we say, it's too good to be true. It can't be true. We're skeptical to think that, number one, we are condemned already. We have the, what did I do mentality. So we're skeptical to think that we're condemned in this world, right? That I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not a horrible person. There are people worse than me. So I don't believe that I'm condemned, that I'm doomed already. But then the second thing is, we're skeptical to think that there's a God who won't hold anything against us. That we think, okay, God, we have to please him. We have to try to be good because he is going to hold this thing against us. That's why there's so many things happening right now, right? And so it leaves us trapped as we wander around in the darkness. We're kind of lost. Because on one hand, we don't like to hear that we're condemned. And on the other hand, we don't think that God won't hold anything against us. That he's going to out to get us, that he's out to get us. And so we're in this darkness because we don't admit that we need the light to come into our lives. And we don't believe we'll be accepted and not condemned. And I'm saying this mindset needs to be broken. And I'd like to recap, a lot of these things, a lot of this in this series, there's a lot of things that are true every week. And last episode and the episode before that, I talked about our trusts, right? We seem to already put our trust and hope into the darkness. It's already winning, right? The falsehood of everything makes us feel like, that we can't be happy fully and we can't be fulfilled because the trust is in the darkness. And when we trust the darkness and we put our hope in the darkness, there is no hope and there is no trust. And then we also ignore the signs or discredit the stories that we hear of good things that are happening, of good people that's going on. There's something wrong with them. There's a catch. Why are they doing this? Right? We're skeptical. And we get too angry to allow this light, this positivity to come to us. You see, we refuse to let the light use us, which is something we must do with our God-given gifts. So, like I said, these things are all our own doing. They hold us back. Because guess what? We have a creator. We have the person who made us, that made everything. We have him out there, and he does not hold anything against us. He does not condemn us. You see, when we are made new, we win. When we change our mindset, we win. When we have this positivity and this mindset that there is the light out there and we put our trust and hope in this light, we win. And so to answer the question, how can we be sure a new mindset will be beneficial for us? When we realize that we can have a do-over for our lives, we become free. That when we can just change our mindset, we become free of guilt, attacks, blame, criticism, and darkness. We begin to form our minds to attack and go for everything with confidence. That when we renew our mindset and realize there's a light out there and we put our faith and hope in that light, we can attack anything that happens to us. We can attack anything, our goals, that we can attack it with confidence because we have a creator who told us that we can be born again. Meaning we already have this natural birth from our mom, and now we have a spiritual birth, spirituality. And in this spiritual birth, there is zero, none, zilch. There's no condemnation. We are not condemned in this. You see, because in our natural mindset, when we start out this life, when we're born naturally, we're condemned already. We're already in this darkness because of the continued darkness that happens since the beginning of the time, since man was created and they did the first thing wrong. But we can renew that and have a new mindset, a new birth per se. And in this mindset, he will not condemn us. You see, so when people try to condemn us, talk down to us, discourage us, we can just ignore that. Because guess what? The only one worthy to do any of that decided not to. He didn't come to condemn. He didn't come to make us feel bad. He didn't come to hold things against us. He came to help. He came to love. He came to say, you are somebody. And together, we're going to do something to make this world better. That's what he's saying to us. Let me read where I'm getting this from as we continue in this series. And this week, we're on the Gospel of John, chapter 3, and we're going to read the first 21 verses. Here we go. Now, there was a Pharisee, a man named Nicodemus, who was a member of the Jewish ruling council. He came to Jesus at night and said, "Rabbi, We know that you are a teacher who has come from God, for no one could perform the signs you are doing if God were not with him. Now, a little pause here. He's coming to him at night. This is somebody who's very high up in the church, in the Jewish ruling council, a big deal. And he's coming at night. Nobody did that because there's no electricity. You didn't have house parties at night. And they came to him at night because he didn't want anybody to see him. And he's kind of, acknowledging a little bit like, okay, you're from God, right? We can kind of tell, right? Because of the things that you're doing, right? And so, continuing on, Jesus replied, and this is the first, for you old school people, this is the first Nick at Night that ever happened. I always say that joke. Some may not get it. Look it up, Nick at Night. Okay, so Jesus replied, "Very truly I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of God unless they are born again." So Nicodemus is confused. How can someone be born when they are old? Nicodemus asked. Surely they cannot enter a second time into their mother's womb to be born. And Jesus answered, "Very truly I tell you, no one can enter the kingdom of God unless they are born of water and spirit. Flesh gives birth to flesh, but the spirit gives birth to spirit." So he kind of repeats that there, which means you pay attention. Water and spirit, unless you're born of water, the natural birth, and the spirit, a spiritual birth, where you put your trust in the light. Because flesh gives birth to flesh, human to human, but the spirit gives birth to spirit. Spiritual thing, but your faith in the light gives birth to a new spirit, a new mindset. All right, let me continue on. "You should not be surprised at my saying, 'You must be born again.' The wind blows wherever it pleases. You hear its sound, but you cannot tell where it comes from or where it is going. So it is with everyone born of the Spirit. The Spirit is everywhere. We have access to it no matter where we are." "How can this be?" Nicodemus asked. "You're Israel's teacher," said Jesus. "And do you not understand these things? Very truly I tell you, we speak of what we know, and we testify to what we have seen. But still you people do not accept our testimony. I have spoken to you of earthly things, and you don't believe. How then will you believe if I speak of heavenly things? No one has ever gone into heaven except the one who came from heaven, the Son of Man. Just as Moses lifted up the snake in the wilderness, so the man must be lifted up, that everyone who believes may have eternal life in him." And that's the whole idea of him being on that cross and us looking to him for life. And right there he's saying that if you don't believe earthly things, how will you believe things that are bigger than that? If you don't believe and have confidence in things that you can do here on earth, how can you have faith and confidence that you can do things spiritually and spiritual things? So continuing on, and I'm on verse 16. This is probably the most famous verse in the entire Bible. You see John 3:16 written a lot of times at sporting events, and Tim Tebow also would put that on his eye block there every football game. But it says this: "For God so loved the world that he gave his only one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life." That's the most popular verse in the Bible, probably. But I love verse 17, and it's kind of the focus of what this podcast is. "For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. Whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe stands condemned already because they have not believed in the name of God's one and only Son. This is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but people love darkness." That's what I was talking about. People love darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. You can hide in the darkness. "Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed. But whoever lives by the truth comes into the light, so that it may be seen plainly that what they have done has been done in the sight of God." So what does all this mean? It means there's nothing holding us back. We often feel as if we will never be good enough or we aren't good enough. But the truth is, the one who could hold something against us does not. Because he says, and he says, you're already in that mindset. You're already condemned. You're already in your guilt, in your shame. So I'm going to free you from that. So you can do anything. All you got to do is come out of that darkness, change that mindset, and realize there's a creator out there. There's a person who created light who says, come on, Follow me. Learn about me. Have a relationship about me. Grow your faith. And then when you're with me, you can do anything because there is nothing holding you back. And it's not just for the past. It's also true for the present and the future. That when you mess up, he doesn't hold it against you because you're on track to be with him. You're on track to use your God-given gift and do everything you can do to make this world to good. And so the alternative to believing that this is true is just to stay condemned, stay negative, have a dark view of life, right? I mean, that's the alternative. If you say, oh, I don't believe none of this, well, then you're still in the condemned negative state. And that's where you'll stay. But I will say this. Everybody believes in good one way or another. They believe in karma, the universe, life, or whatever. And they build the hope on that. And I'm just saying there's something that you can put hope into because there's somebody out there who made a way for you not to be condemned. So nothing can hold you back. But when we realize the Creator has nothing but good intentions for us, it frames our mindset to accomplish all of our goals, to crush it at life. You see, we're condemned, but not by the Creator. We have no hope except through the Creator. We're in darkness, except when we are in the light. Do you see that there? That one side is just negative. One side, there's no hope. One side, there's nothing. But when we're in the light, nothing stops us. Because this is a big deal for us to have hope, to know that there's no condemnation for those of us who choose the light. You see, the light came for us to save us, to give us life, to give us hope, to give us a future, to let us know that the condemned life that we are already in has changed. It's been switched all the way up. And this allows us to have a brand new, positive, faith-filled mindset. And this is the basis that will get us through all of our life. So this is what I say to you to do. Okay? Do this for me. Make a decision right now. Make a decision to become new. Accept the light into your life. Let him guide your path. It's very simple. All you need to do is just stop for a minute, have a conversation with God, have a conversation with the Creator and say, I realize that my life is not going anywhere, that it needs something more, that I can only go so far in my own power, and that I need you, that I admit that there are things that I've done wrong that I need you to wipe clean so I can get rid of this guilt and shame. So please take that from me. And I want to accept this light into my life and let this life guide me. Say those words, and your light is now guiding you. If you've done that, leave me a message. Let me know. That'll be awesome. You can rewind it too if you need to hear it again. But that's the first step. And I encourage anybody who has not done that step yet to do that step. And then next, let go of all the guilt and shame now. God does not keep you in the past. He guides you into the future, into what you're going to do. And lastly, use your new freedom to tell other people and spread good. Well, please feel free to dialogue with me. I have my YouTube channel, Rodney O, and you can look that up. There's going to be a link in the podcast description, and you can simply go to YouTube and also search Rodney O if you want to. And remember this, I want to inspire, encourage, and motivate all of you as you navigate this journey that we call life. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next one.